Hi everybody, my name is Garth Gaenssler. I've been involved in Marloth Park for quite a while. I've been living abroad for the last eight years, been back here about a year. When I got back, I got more involved in Marloth Park and was quite concerned about mainly the conflict between the different management groups and that were involved in Marloth Park, and started looking at the structure of Marloth Park and the way it was being managed. What I'm proposing here is a concept of management and a way to maybe look at Marloth Park. It's based on the research that I've done and with a lot of input from people like Prof. Riley and various others. That said, I'm going to move forward. If there's any questions, hold them for the end, but if you think that it's relatively important at that point, feel free to interrupt, put your hand up, and I'll answer the questions we go. Okay, so why change how Marloth is being managed? Some of the current issues that we've got at the moment is not receiving the services we require from the municipality, both basic and levied. We have significant issues with the enforcement of the rules and regulations. There's all sorts of arguments whether they exist or don't exist and all sorts of things. And then on top of it, the enforcement of it. Owners take advantage of the municipality's failed system. Lodges, businesses, and people set up building houses without proper authorization. A lot of people have relied on deemed authorization, where they've gone forward, put in an application, sat back and said, well, the municipality won't reply in 2 months, and on the basis of that, I've got permission and I'll move forward. And that's been, a lot of people have relied on that here. There's significant reason to suspect that persons within the municipality are utilizing our levies and for personal gain. We have significant issues with poaching and crime. For survival, as well as there's some questions regarding syndication. The syndicates actually running poaching operations in our park. And we have a dysfunctional volunteer management structure. Groups are often in conflict to propose strategies. Game is one of the biggest issues, but we've got MIPO, MPRA, Wildlife, Bonnie Rangers, Wildlife Fund, Wildlife Task Force, and many others. So there's a whole structure of structure. I know there's a top level management where everybody's supposed to be getting together, but it just doesn't seem to be functioning at the levels below. Okay. And we don't have a sustainability plan. There was something put forward a while ago that I found. I stand corrected, but I don't believe that we have a sustainability plan in place for the management of our ecosystem and our assets. That's the two together. What I'm talking about here is the management of Marloth Park as a whole. So that's the buildings, the roads, the whole infrastructure, and how that all comes together within the eco environment that we have. And we're running sort of a benign reactive type of management system, and we desperately need to start moving towards an active management type of structure. Okay, potentially we're at risk for abuse and worst case scenario loss or expropriation of certain parts of our land, purely because of where they're sitting in terms of ownership. A lot of the stuff has wandered over into the municipality and is potentially moving over to other environments. Okay, how do we take controls and manage these issues? I'm looking at sort of from a profit, planet, and a people type of environment, sort of making the numbers work, finding a sustainable environment that's from a business perspective, from a people perspective, and then enhancing the community and finding a way that we can all sort of live and work together in an environment. Access control and security is, again, this is all from my perspective, but access control and security is probably our primary issue. We need a top-class gate control system that manages access independently for various parties. Our owners of property need a way that we can get in and out. Visitors to Marloth Park need to be managed and controlled so that they don't just wander in and out as they feel fit. Builders, delivery workers, we need a way that we can control and ensure that they've been vetted and that they're not just wandering in and out of the environment. And persons commuting through Marloth Park, we need to find a way that we can allow them to actually move through the park without actually, without impending on and using our environment for their benefit. Okay, we need to address security within the estate, and I've been called that before, calling Marloth an estate. I refer to the estate because it's a big fenced-off piece of ground, much the same as a golf estate would be. The difference between a golf estate is we have our wildlife parks, and we've got our wildlife walking around, whereas a golf environment has a golf course. Counter poaching, we need to find ways, and we are sort of looking at, there's various people looking at the counter poaching, but we need an active strategy to deal with it. And we need to secure our high-risk assets such as reservoirs and other issues. Ecology and wildlife management. A professionally managed and sustainable system for our ecology. We need to look at that and put something in place in that line. Town planning and the enforcement of thereof. We have rules that were put in place with Marloth Park many years ago. Life has moved on. A lot of those rules may or may not be enforced, and some of them may be in conflict with the constitution that's come up. We need to look and put in place a system that's workable, and then we need to look at how we can enforce that structure and that system. Management of tourism industry operating in Marloth Park. All businesses, I believe, should be contributing to the use of the common environment. And people that are using Marloth Park for a business perspective should be paying proportionately for the use that and the benefit that they're getting by being able to set up operations in an environment like this and piggybacking off the asset that exists. And we need to control the use of our common assets like land and our game. Originally, Marloth was never intended to be a tourism base. It was supposed to be a holiday estate for owners to invest in. The reality is it's moved on, and it is a tourist environment now, and we need to ensure that we are managing that tourism for the best for Marloth Park and not for the benefit of the tourist industry as a whole within Maputo. I can't be doing Mpumalanga, sorry, I've been working in Mozambique for a while. There we go. All right, we're talking about an alternative management structure. Okay, we need a holistic approach to create an economically viable and sustainable urban and natural development that will support Marloth Park as a wildlife estate, and also, very importantly, ensure the interests of the Marloth owners is secured indefinitely. Okay. At the moment, we have a municipality, and municipalities do what they're good at and constitutionally required to do. That's provide basic services, collect revenue for the provision of those services, and wherever necessary, recover debt in that way, and then enforce the rules and regulations that fit within the environment that they're managing. But there's then what we need is a professional entity that works together with that municipality, and that professional entity needs to ensure that the services that we require over and above the excess, which is the basic services, water, sanitary, the likes, are provided and managed in a way that is accountable and professional, ethical, and sustainable. That's where we said we've had attempts at putting these type of structures together in the past. In the time of Ian Moss, there was an attempt to put a Section 21 company together. It went far away down the way. The proposal, as you'll see later, that I'm putting forward is slightly different to that was put in. Okay. So what is the objective and what is the structure and the proposal of the new entity? Firstly, objective is work together with the municipality within a CRD or an SRA model, which is a special rateable area with two corporate structures. Now, I'll come in with a description in terms of what a CRD and SRA is later. But effectively, it's an environment that you apply rates to, and we've got that in place for Marloth Park in terms of collecting our refuse and security at the gates. We're paying special rates on that at the moment. Okay. The two corporate structures that are proposed is putting in place a trust The trust secures the assets and ensures that they're not at risk. So what we do is we have the trust, and it operates differently to a public benefit company. The public benefit company is operating and it's at risk like any other business that's going in it. Hopefully nothing would happen, but if it did become insolvent, the assets are secured in a trust and not sitting in this company. So that's one of the primary reasons that we have a trust. And it holds all the common assets from Marloth Park. Then it provides an ability for us to administrate and ensure that the public benefit company is operating and doing what it needs to do. And then governance, in terms of making sure that it's operating and being governed and ensuring that the decisions and the operations that are performed are for the benefit of Marloth Park. So the public benefit company, it provides a professional management of the operations required. It maintains and improves the assets for Marloth Park and does whatever is required within the business plan. And it performs the operations required for the provision of the security, ecology, township management, and the control of the business. So those are all the items that are top-up services over and above what the municipality would be providing. Okay, going forward in the next few slides, I'm going to address first the structure of the two entities, which is your public benefit company and your trust. And then I'll have a look at how they interact with the municipality and the owners. Then we'll discuss basically what a CID is, or Special Rateable Area or City Improvement District, and what it does, how it's conventionally funded and other funding options for it, and much more as we go through with a whole lot of questions that hopefully will answer preempt some of the questions that are going to come. Trustees and beneficiaries. If we look at the trust at the moment, how it's managed, how it's structured, who owns it. The proposal at the moment is to put a trust together with 6 to 9 trustees. The trust could be considered as safe, where basically all our assets are held, and the trustees manage the use of these assets for Marloth Park, and they're accountable under law. And they need to perform in a certain way. All the benefit that comes out of the trust is for the trust beneficiaries, and the trust beneficiaries are the owners of Marloth Park in the park from time to time. So that the trustees, or the beneficiaries, moves when the sale of the earth happens. If it's sold to somebody else, then that next owner becomes a beneficiary under the trust. If the property is registered as a company, then the beneficiary would be that company. And if that sale happened, it would remain with that company, because then the shareholders of that company would change. The trust beneficiaries then select 3 to 4 trustees, preferably a representative of away owners and permanent residents, and also preferably not somebody that's involved in business in a way that it could be beneficial to them. So we select 3 or 4 trustees that look at the business plan, the strategies, and moving forward. Then we have on the other side, we have the local government, and they also provide a trustee because they also have a vested interest in Marloth Park. The water supply systems, the roads, and all the other infrastructure that's part of Marloth Park. Then these 2 beneficiary groups come together and we select independent specialist trustees. And these guys are ecologists, lawyers, accountants, people that aren't involved in Marloth Park, are operating and managing it with the overview in terms of what the objectives are and for the benefit of Marloth Park. And if the municipality and these beneficiaries can't come together with a decision, these guys will always be looking at the benefit of Marloth Park going forward in terms of their decision making and their proposals. Okay, so the structure of a proposed trust and a public benefit company. If we look at there we go. We have different levels. So the beneficiaries at the end of the day are the people that benefit from it. That's all the owners. Below them, we have the shareholders, or the shareholding in the trust and in the Section 21 company, or the public benefit company. Then we have board level management. So that's all the governance and looking down. Below this, we have the operational effort within the company, so that within the organization. So that's our operational management. If we come now up back to the beneficiaries, our beneficiaries are all the owners of Marloth Park and the municipality. Those are the beneficiaries. At the end of the day, all the effort that's put into Marloth Park, the development of it, they are the ones that need to see the benefit of it, because this all underscores their investment. Yeah. Our investment in property in Marloth Park exists because of the ecology that supports and underwrites and supports it. If we don't have the animals, if we don't have the environment, our property is not worth anything. Okay, moving forward, we have the trust. That fills two gaps. It deals with the shareholders and it deals with board level management. The trust itself holds all the common assets of Marloth Park. The proposal is that it holds 100% of the shares of the operational company below, and the title of all the common assets, like our Lions Parade at the moment is in the name of the municipality. We would need to negotiate, ensure that that's brought back to the owners who paid for it, and various others. And that common asset would sit here so that it's secured for the foreseeable future. The operational management is our public benefit company. The directors of the public benefit company will be selected effectively by the board level and may then be presented to the owners of Marloth Park to say, these are the three guys, this is who we recommend, this is the way we're going forward, and then we can put in place the directors of the public benefit company. There's two core areas that sit within our directors. We need an ecological manager. He implements the sustainability plan, he oversees the environmental operation, and he ensures feedback in all the annual sustainability reports and everything. So everything that relates around that. We need a township manager that oversees the township manager. He ensures that the services are provided as needed. That means that he's working with the municipality to ensure that they're providing the basic services that are needed. And he also enforces a memorandum of agreement. I'll go through that later, but we will need to set up a memorandum of agreement with the municipality, which deals with the basic services that are covered in the previous plan and the top-up services that we touched on as well. And then below that, we have all the employees, the voluntary and support groups, and all the operations are managed through this structure, and no funds are collected or actions implemented by any unauthorized entity, so that we can control and manage the strategies and that everything is moving forward in a structured and planned manner. Okay, the trust, the public benefit company and the municipality, how do they all interact? So we start off with, we've got a government sector and a private sector. In the government sector, we've got the municipality, and they then provide the basic services. So they're accountable central government, and they do the collection of the rates for basic services, roads, water, sewage, electricity, enforcement of law, collection of the levies for the public benefit company, pursue the delinquent debts for rates and levies, and any fiduciary support that's needed, and they provide an overview. In the private sector, we have the Marloth Park Trust. The trust secures and holds the assets, as we said before, and it supervises and manages the public benefit company. So the beneficiaries are the Marloth Park owners, and the beneficiaries also the local government. So we then have our public benefit company, which sits underneath and managed by the trust. And it's 100% owned by the trust, or the shares are held by the trust for the beneficiaries. Okay. It's accountable to the trust. It provides the top-up services, that's estate security, environmental management, management of the Marloth Park rules, compliance, pets, all that other stuff, management of tourism, and works with the municipality to assist where possible. So at the moment, and by law, your municipality needs to collect the rates and the levies, which is what's happening at the moment. The municipality is collecting our levies for waste control, and it's also picking up our levies for the security gates. And then it passes that through to the public benefit company to operate. Once a structure is in place like this, we would then have a memorandum of agreement that would ensure what the various parties do and where the money goes that's collected. Okay, so the benefit is that we end up with combined strengths. We've got an operational capacity here doing all the special stuff with management that deals with it and can react. We've got the government providing the services that they are good at. And we've got the trust, which is basically providing a high-level overview, ensuring that the plans are being managed, put in place, and that both parties are playing together. Okay, so now we're going to look at what is a special rateable area or a city improvement district. Okay, we'll start with the local authority's objective. The local authority, according to the Constitution, the local authority has to provide all residents with basic services, water, electricity, sanitation, refuse removal, etc. But there's a catch to it. It only has to provide it on an equitable standard. Now, if we take Marloth Park as a standalone, it's one thing. But if we sat down and we look at the government, the municipality, and see the greater environment that Marloth Park sits in, the services that we can expect have to be equitable to with the services that are being provided to and around us. And I'll go and explain a bit more in terms of how the rates and everything are put together. But that's the basis we need to think about the municipality. So the bottom line is, what happens if we want more? We need to pay levies. We set up an SRA so that it can collect levies, and then these levies can be used for additional services. At the moment, we've got that in place. It was put together, and that's how we ended up with collecting the security and the garbage collection. But what happened is that we haven't got the system in place that's actually providing those services anymore. And that's now provided by the municipality. So if we go through a special rating area or the city improvement district, the difference is that the city improvement area is always in a city. So okay, firstly, it refers to a clearly defined geographical area. We've got that. We know Lions Break, Marloth Park Township area. It's a defined area. It's approved as a regional municipal, and it has to be approved by a regional municipality. It can raise levies and fund top-up services for that area. We're doing it that at the moment. Marloth Park is currently implementing it. And there's various laws that govern how these operations perform, what they have to do. And we can use this model as a top-up services. So that sort of gives a backup. Okay, what are top-up services? We've touched on them before. Typically, they deal with crime, and greening. So public safety measures, cleaning services, maintenance and infrastructure, upgrading and improving the environment, or social services to deal with vagrancy and things like that. All issues that we have within Marloth Park that we need to deal with. Okay, the SRA management and benefits. Okay, who manages an SRA? SRA is managed by a public benefit company. The public benefit company has directors, employees, volunteers, whatever. The directors and key staff are employed by a board of shareholders. In our case, we're looking at it as the trustees. It operates in accordance to a business plan and a budget. So we need to do those two structures. First, get a business plan in place, and then finance that out and put a budget in place. It's subject to corporate law. The directors are accountable to the board, and the board is, and at the end of the day, board and trustees are accountable to us and also under law. A professional management team appointed. Okay, the professional management team would be our board, and the municipality and the government is not involved in the day-to-day operations of an SRA. The benefits for the SRA members: safety and security to the area. So it's all individual property owners enjoy the collective benefits of a well-managed area, a shared sense of communal pride, social responsibilities and access to initiatives such as the ecology and environment programs, waste recycling, energy efficient programs, and then this always relates back to a tangible boost in the values and the capital investment. So, our common assets that underpin our property are monitored and managed by accountable board. So that's How's it funded? It's funded by levies, paid by its membership in rates and taxes bill, and the SRA does not receive any subsidies from the city. It has the powers to raise additional revenue sponsorships from its members, and through the trust we can generate income for use with regards to our common assets. We can look at sustainable harvesting of timber, we can sustainable management of our game, starting businesses and processes that contribute to Marloth Park using our common resources, such as the tourism in Lions Parade, commercial activities in Hankenroyen, processing operations of timber, abattoir, tanning, various things that come out of our product, and bed levies that are recovering the use of the assets by tourism. So there's various other ways that we can pick up revenue that can go into. Can an SRA's funds be spent anywhere in the city? It can't. The levy income is ring-fenced and must and can only be plowed back exclusively into the area of the SRA. So any money that's generated, that's where it has to go back. Who monitors the finances? The SRA manages its own finances and appoints its own auditors. The audited financial statement form part of the municipality's consolidated accounts, which are then reviewed by the Auditor General. So it becomes, although it's our SRA, it becomes part of the municipality's larger budget. And the financial reports are submitted to the city to monitor that expenditures occurred according to the business plan. So there's various monitoring points. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just give a bit of an overview in terms of how the valuation base is determined. And this is one of the ways that we can generate and look at how levies are put together. So every 3-4 years, the municipality does a valuation. Okay, what they do is they would take, if we look at that graph and sort of look at it, that could be at a higher level, it could be the whole of the municipality, and those blocks could be regions within the municipality, or as we're going to be looking at it now, we're taking it to the level below and saying those are the individual earths in Marloth Park, and we're now going to look at how they're valued. If we look at the 2014 municipal valuation, and we say earth number 1 blinkbar, 1.7 hectares, valued at 80,000. 306 Kiat, 1.7, it's a residential property valued at 550. 4585 is a residential, it's consolidated 2 plots, 4.5 hectares, 490,000. So what happens, all the plots in Marloth Park are added up, and we ended up with a total municipality valuation in 2014 of 1.375 billion rand of built up and land within Marloth Park. So that gives us our valuation base that we work from. The next thing that we go through is the Public Benefit Trust puts together a business plan, looks at that business plan, and from that it extracts a budget. We'll discuss that later, but for the moment what I'm going to do is, if we say we've got a budget of 7 million for a year, and an indication of how I got to 7 million is we've got some setup costs that we will have to put together a trust and do all sorts of bits and pieces. Negotiation with the municipality, bit of money put for that. Non-profit company, how it's structured and how it operates, infrastructure and equipment, security levies integrated with ecology, giving us for year 1, 6.972, year 2, 7.041, year 3, 7.5, and these are escalating. This one escalates at 1% for the year, that's 7, that's 8. The reason why there's such a small escalation is that a lot of the costs that are set up in year 1 fall away and the escalation grows through in year 2. Looking at the non-profit company, some of the things that's sort of allowed for is registration of the non-profit company, some employees and ecologists, the town manager and the administration team, office rental. If we move on to the next one, we look at infrastructure, security equipment, setting up the gates, improving the high-risk infrastructure, setting up some cameras and security at the water tanks, upgrading the entrances, and various vehicles to be able to get around. Moving on to the next one, under the security services, some guards at the gates. I've used quite a high rate for the guards, so we have some guards at the gate and a ranger that allows us to inspect vehicles and check for coming in and out. So we have gate 1 and 2 farm gates and some rangers. So it's been a fun suck, but it's just some numbers thrown at a paper for the moment as an example. Moving on. So we've got a budget now that we've put together, and we've got a bit of that's been driven from a business plan that we've put together, and now we move on to the next step. What we do is we've got all of these municipal values. So we know, okay, this plot's municipal value is 350, that's 8, that's that. What we do is we take the valuation base that we had, and we then pull through our budget for the year to there. And now what we do is we look at that budget as a proportion. So we've got this municipal value. Go back, Stace. Okay, so we have our municipal value, and that gives us a portion of what that value is of our valuation base. And now we apply that portion to the annual levies, and we end up now with a value for annual levies on that plot, which is a residential plot, and it gives us a monthly value of about 1.48. A much more expensive property is now sitting at 339, and a empty earth is now 3394. So this is how your rates and taxes are put together and how they're generated, and you can follow the same exercise to pull through how levies are determined. So that's one of the ways that it can be done. Okay, if we look at the current rate of levies, okay, basic services, this excludes the water and electricity consumption. Okay, so it's determined in the same way that slide that the sample I went through before. Then we look at our top-up services, and so okay, so if we go back to our rates, we've got 2,000 developed plots. We're almost there now in Marloth Park at roughly 700 rand an earth. I'm just using numbers now. Gives us 1.4 million as our global rates. 200 undeveloped plots at about 250 worth of rates and taxes is another 500,000. So we're looking roughly 1.9 million contribution in terms of rates for Marloth Park at the moment. Okay, that gives us an indicated annual budget of about 22.5 million a year. Our infrastructure, and that money is used basically for providing the infrastructure that we need, getting water to our houses, getting electricity, maintaining the roads, upgrading the roads, refuse transfer site, eco services such as our rangers, and effectively it's all the long and short-term maintenance and capital investment that might be required from time to time to make Marloth Park work. And those are the basic services. For our top-up services, at the moment we've got interest levies. Okay, it's applied as a lump sum for each plot at the moment. So if we get 2,000 developed plots at 35 rand ex that, that's 70,000 a month, and 2,000 undeveloped sites at 15 rand, that's 30,000. So roughly 100,000 as levies for entrance security at the moment. Garbage collection, lump sum, say 2,000 developed earth, 60 rand a plot, 120,000 a month. So indicated total budget 2.64 million a year. Okay, so this money is used to cover the security at gate 1 and 2 and the farm gate. So if we assume a guard at 4,000 a month, so 2 gates, 2 guards, 3 shifts, 48,000, 1 gate, 1 guard, 3 shifts, 12,000, allow 30% for sundry expenses and admin, which I think is a bit excessive, but that's another 20,000. We've got a cost of 80,000, we've got an income of 100. And refuse removal, if I just use a truck at 15,000 a month, a team at 30,000, that's 45,000 rands worth of costs at the moment against an income of 120,000 a month. It's just an overview. Sorry, yes.
Sorry, no, I was involved with the budget for the waste department. Sorry, just sorry about that. I can't see it. Thank you. So I was involved with the budget of the waste department, and I even went so far as to get a private company to give us a quote for providing exactly the same service. And the quote from the private company, which was Interwaste in Nelspruit, was 100,000 rand more than what the municipality was charging us. So those figures there are a little bit off.
What I'm doing is I'm just giving you an idea of how stuff is built up. I've done an assessment of what's actually in the park at the moment. I don't know what the municipality's team is. I've just looked and made an assessment and sort of thought, okay, well, how much and what, how many people are running behind the truck and whatever. You know, there's.
Yeah. No, well, I'm just saying that because I was involved in that one. We've done that assessment.
I hear you. As I said, this is all just to give an overview and an understanding. So, go steps. So the bottom line is then my numbers here for refuse removal as I made an assessment of 45 grand. So we can double it or triple it. And even if we triple it, then we're sitting pretty much what the assumptions are. So that's where the levies are being used at the moment. Okay. So there's other ways to address levies and incomes within a trust and SRA. Okay, we've got the three methods roughly that we've discussed before. So we've got our current levies, current rates, and we can then there's alternative methods that we can look at trying to get money in from Marloth Park to support our structure. So voluntary donations is always one option. All the restaurants operating within Marloth Park are presented as a levy for guest bills. Income generated by Marloth Park future operations such as game harvesting, timber harvesting and other associated businesses. Use of line scrape and other assets for tourism activities. Income from rented accommodation, effectively a bed tax applied to compensate for the benefit received by tourism operators running a business within Marloth Park. Advertised housing, applying a monthly fee based on an advertised value. Lodgers pay per user, guest user facilities, alternatively a percentage on the top. Charge people with domestic animals an annual levy or negotiate an agreement. I mean, the reality is that this is something that's not going to go away. The reality is that these are all things that have to be worked through in workshops, and we have to deal with issues within Marloth Park. All right, okay, and many more. So all to be discussed and worked through in a workshop. I mean, that's the way forward. Okay, other ways to. Okay, how is the levy collected? The city collects a levy on behalf of the SRA. That's a legal requirement. The levy is a separate item on the monthly municipal bill for each member. The benefit is, we have a benefit that there's a shared invoice, and the municipality also has the responsibility to recover any bad debt. Okay, all levy goes to the SRA. So any levies that are being raised get straight over to the SRA, and it cannot be used by the municipality. Each month, the city pays 1/12 of the annual SRA budget, and that's paid as a lump sum over every month to the SRA. And it deducts a percentage of that for bad debt based on municipal non-recovery rate, and it shouldn't be more than 3 or 5%. And at the end of the year, that is then balanced in terms of what the non-recovery was, and it's adjusted accordingly. And then depending on the treaty set out in the Memorandum of Agreement, the municipality may also pay a portion of the rates to the SRA. Example, at the moment, the municipality is doing the ranges, that may be part of the SRA scope, and then as a result, that form or that part of the rates and taxes would then fall over into the SRA. SRA plan and budget, how it works. So the SRA sets a 3-year plan. So we have our 3-year business plan, and from that 3-year business plan, we pull out a 3-year budget. And the city doesn't get involved in that process. So if we're sitting at the moment, we've got a current 3-year budget that we're looking at. And then at the end of the first year's worth of operations, what we do is we review the current year, and we aggressively review it against the past year. And then we take the two, and then what we do is we look at what were the changes in the first year, and we look at how they may affect what's left of the second year. And then we pull those together into the new budget and the new business plan. And we then look at that with adjusting the 2 years that are left of the business plan, bringing in the new 3rd year into the business plan, and adjusting them through. And then we have a proposed new business plan, which we then provide and we move forward on. And this budget is provided before the start of the next financial year, normally around about January, February, and it's implemented normally 1st of July. The proposed budget is not allowed to deviate materially from the approved business plan, and you have that long-term the three-year budget, and it's materially should sit within that. And if it does change, there has to be an application that's put forward either to the beneficiaries or and the municipality to justify dramatic changes. So how does one establish an SRA? Okay, firstly, it's always initiated by the community. It usually starts with champions of the community feel the necessity to secure, upgrade, or progress the environment within the boundaries of a certain area. They then compile a business plan indicating how the improvements are to be achieved, and they present this to community at a public meeting. The property owners are lobbied for their support. The majority gives consent to the formation of the SRA, and most of this process has already been done because we've already got the levies in place, but we would go through that same process again. We had a Section 21 company a while ago that lapsed and fell apart. We could maybe resurrect some of the negotiations and issues that happened within that, or we may have to start from scratch again. We then negotiate with the municipality to conclude a memorandum of agreement. Memorandum of agreement basically sets out what the trust is going to do and what the municipality is going to do. And we can use, once we've got our trust in place, we can use that to have discussions with municipality, neighbours, local communities, current organisations within Marloth Park, interested parties and various others to put together a rational and strategic business plan. Okay, some more questions. Does the formation of a special rateable area mean the municipality can reduce their level of quality of service? No. The city is obliged to sustain the existing service levels in line with an agreement within this SRA. The municipality SRA must conclude a memorandum of understanding, and that sets out the rules, indicates the level of service to be provided by the municipality, enables the SLA and the municipality to decide and identify the top-up services to be provided, and determine how the funding will be collected and distributed using the various different models that we discussed before. How does the city and the SRA resolve arrears? The city provides the SRA with a regular update in terms of payments that are happening. The public benefit company and the trust can assist in pursuing those who are in arrears and default, initially by consensus and discussion. Later it could become a bit more aggressive. Defaulters are subject then to the city's credit control and debt collection processes. And delinquents can have their water and electricity services suspended, or rates clearance certificates upheld, or various other efforts to ensure that there's compliance. Is the SRA levy mandatory for all properties within the SRA? Yes, it is. Once the city has approved an SRA, the participants of the property owners within the boundaries of the SRA is mandatory. Do members have a say in the SRA? Absolutely. There's different levels and structures. Every property owner is a registered member of the public benefit company through the shares that are held by the trust. Once that's established, they can attend general meetings, they get involved in the election of board members, provide input into the SRA. And what happens if the valuation base changes during the year? That's where we discuss the price if they come and do a re-evaluation of the property in Marloth Park. What that does is it actually changes the proportional value. What really affects you is when you change the budget within the SRA. So municipal valuations can change within a financial year due to interim valuations, court rulings, and various others. The valuation base is then is a snapshot in time and is calculated in the cent of the rand, as we discussed. And should the valuation base increase or decrease, the city then must inform the SRA, and what the SRA does is it then goes and it applies the budget again over the new base valuation, so that the payment proportions might change relevant to the change in property values, but the amount being paid overall remains the same. Okay, some questions specific to Marloth Park. What about game in Marloth Park? I spoke to various people, and I was informed that the ownership of the game is vested equally in each owner in Marloth Park. And the vesting of this ownership of the animals in a trust could mean that there's a central point of control of this asset and managed in accordance with and under the sustainable management strategy, and guided by the trustees and managed by the ecologists. The result could be proactive and not a reactive or one-eye management. What about services and employees of municipalities such as game rangers? We have the opportunity of taking them on in the PBC under the ecological manager. We can focus on active training to ensure provider skills, services, and other requirements. And the intention would not be for people to lose jobs. If anything, it's to actively manage assets and develop new jobs and new structures. And what about gate security? The plan would be to set up a first-class security system. As an example, property owners have their own entrance and exit and use a card or code for the identification of access. Visitors require invitation from a resident or get provided with a confirmation access code, and this is valid for set periods of time. Contractors, deliverers will enter through a contractor's gate. All workers require clearance, domestic workers have ID. And people passing through using the servitude could be given the grace period of, say, 30 minutes, and if they're on the park for longer, get charged in the way to charge for parking. So they basically, if they for longer than a rational period of time, they're considered to be using and contributing towards the environment. Gates in high-risk facilities get put under 24-hour CCTV monitoring so that we can manage that. Okay. I thank you for your time, and we're open now for questions and everything else. I'd just like to thank Prof. Riley, Jan van Dijk, who provided me a lot of information on trust and ecology issues. Ian Marloth, who provided information from the history and the background of Marloth Park from his time. And Jean Lawrence, who provided me a lot of information on CRDs and SRAs and their implementation. Then various committees that helped as well with me. Thanks a lot.